Hey everybody, welcome to another lesson of Learning Japanese. Today we are going to cover the various conjugations of na-adjectives. So relative to the various conjugations of e-adjectives, the conjugations of na-adjectives are much more easier to grasp because what we simply do is we take the stem word of the adjective, which is basically the adjective itself, and then following it, we add the proper form of the word des. And we actually covered most, if not all, the conjugations of the word des in a previous video, so basically, we're just using the knowledge we learned from that to make it easier to do here. So with that said, let's just jump into 3 really quick examples to get a hang of this. So if we want to say something was energetic, we're going to use the na-adjective genki, which is energetic. After that, we're going to use the proper form of des to make it into the past tense because we want to say was energetic, so we're just going to say genki deshita. And deshita is the polite form of the past tense of des. If we wanted it to be plain, we could have just said datta instead. But genki deshita is what's going on here, and that is was energetic. Next up, if we want to say it's not lively, we might want to use the na-adjective nigiyaka. So if we want to make that into its negative form, we're simply going to say nigiyaka, and we're simply going to add the negative form of des after it, janai. And again, this is going to be the plain version, so it's more casual. If we wanted it to be polite, we could have just said nigiyaka dewanai instead. But here, nigiyaka janai serves the same purpose, just more casual. Last up, if we want to say something was not pretty, then we're going to take the na-adjective kirei, which can be used to mean pretty. We're going to change that into its negative past tense. And so this is going to be kirei ja nakatta. And this is again the plain form or the more casual version. If we wanted this to be more polite, we could have instead said kirei de wa arimasen deshita. But here, again, we're sticking to the casual, the plain, so it's kirei ja nakatta. So yeah, we can see how it's really simple because we know already the various forms of the word des. And now we're going to move on. We're going to cover how to connect na-adjectives together. So the same rule that we use to connect e-adjectives together applies here. It's only your last adjective in your list of adjectives that is describing the same entity that gets conjugated normally. All of the ones before that is going to be in the connecting form, which is basically the te form. For the e-adjectives, what that meant was that we had to make every single adjective except for the last one be in its te form and end with ku te. Well, here it's much easier. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to make all of the adjectives except for the last one into its te form too, but all we have to do is take the adjective, its stem form, which is basically just the na-adjective itself, and add de right after it, because that's the te form for na-adjectives. So for our first example, if we want to say something is efficient and effective, we might want to use the adjectives効率的and効果的. And so効率的is going to be used up first, so we change that into its te form, and what that is going to be is just basically 効率的 again with the particle de after it. So what 効率的で効果的is basically efficient and effective. So for our next example, instead of connecting na-adjective with na-adjective, we'll connect na-adjective with e-adjective just to show how seamless the process is. If we want to say something is convenient and fast, we'll use the na-adjective benri and we'll use the e-adjective hayai. So if we want to change benri into its te form, it's just going to be benri de. So benri de hayai is convenient and fast. So now lastly, what we want to do is cover how to connect the negative form of na-adjectives with together or with e-adjectives even. So unsurprisingly, what we're going to do is we're going to change the na-adjectives into their negative form, which is either going to be the na-adjective followed by janai or the na-adjective followed by dewanai. And that's going to vary basically on whether you're being casual or you're being polite. Then we're going to change those into the te form, so janai is going to change into janakute, and dewanai is going to change into dewanakute. And then we're just going to stack those connectors until we get to the last adjective, and that adjective is going to be conjugated regularly. So for example, if we want to say someone was not kind and was not sympathetic, then we're going to take the 2 adjectives shinsetsu and dojo teki. So shinsetsu is nice and dojo teki is sympathetic. So we'll have shinsetsu up first. Not nice is going to be shinsetsu janai, but it's going to need the connector, so it's going to be shinsetsu janakute. Then we're going to follow that with not sympathetic, so dojo teki, we're going to change that into its negative, so it's going to be dojo teki janai. But we're also going to want to change that further into its past tense because it was not sympathetic. So dojo teki janai is going to change into dojo teki janakatta. So we add those two together and we have shinsetsu janakute 同情的じゃなかった and that is was not kind and not sympathetic, or was not kind nor sympathetic, or unkind and unsympathetic, whatever way you want to word it in English. And for our next one, again, we'll exhibit just how seamless it is to interchange not-adjectives and e-adjectives to connect them together, or just among themselves, or whatever. So for our next example sentence, we're going to say something was not lively and not fun. So lively is going to be, again, nigiyaka, that's a not-adjective. Fun is going to be tanoshii, which is an e-adjective. We'll have nigiyaka go up first. So if it's not nigiyaka, not lively, it's going to be nigiyaka janai. But of course we add the connector after that, so instead it's going to be nigiyaka janakute. And then all we have to do after that is add not fun, or was not fun, because we want to express this in the past tense. So tanoshii is going to turn into tanoshiku nakatta. So add those two together and we have nigiyaka janakute tanoshiku nakatta. And that translates to was not lively and not fun, or was not lively nor fun, or unlively and unfun, or something like that. So that's how we conjugate not-adjectives, and of course there's that little tidbit about the relationship between not-adjectives and e-adjectives when you're trying to connect adjectives to describe the same entity. But we do have one last thing to know here, and that's that this can be somewhat of a tricky construct to grasp, because there is in fact another grammar pattern that resembles it very closely but pretty much means the opposite thing. When we use the grammar construct x de wa nakute y, or more casually x janakute y, this grammar construct literally means not x but y, and we can see how this is basically the opposite of what we're trying to say with this adjective construct. When we're trying to say not adjective de wa nakute another not adjective, that means this adjective and this adjective, which is very obviously quite the opposite of not x but y, and that is one thing to look out for. To be honest, just from the construct of the sentence alone, you should be able to tell whether we're using this construct of the adjective or this construct to mean not x but y, and yeah, just something to look out for to make sure that you really get a grasp of this, a proper grasp of this. So that's the video on explaining not adjectives and their conjugations, and yeah, we are getting places.